Good day, grade 12 students. For today's lesson, we will be educating ourselves about Philippine contemporary arts and the ways on how to promote and preserve the heritage and pride of Filipino culture. Philippine contemporary art. In Philippine contemporary art, we have Dr. Patrick Flores. Dr. Patrick Flores is a renowned art critic and a curator in Metropolitan Museum. Dr. Patrick Flores describes Philippine contemporary art with the feeling that all is possible in the contemporary because it conceived as a constantly extending and deepening constellation of art. Contemporary art then permits possibilities of exploring either subject or medium in art to express the Filipino sense of self. At present, Filipinos are becoming more and more aggressive as they use the arts to express themselves and create wonderful artworks that try to capture the Filipino way of life. So students, take a look at the picture and what is the artwork all about. Because we all know we Filipino is very expressive when in terms in artwork, not just in artwork but also in some ways of our life. So, contemporary artists use, or Philippine contemporary artists use uh, the way of life we Filipino do. Like, for example, in occupation, socialization, and some gatherings. Philippine contemporary art can be found even in the most unsuspecting places. It cannot be reduced to conventional notions of space and medium. Because you know why, student? Contemporary artists have brought their artworks into the street, in public, because in contemporary times, the main feat of any art primarily depends on how the art is able to connect with spectators. Because contemporary arts allow the Filipino artists to portray the subject and the medium in innovative and skillful ways. That's why we Filipino or contemporary artists reflect our identity as Filipino. At this point of our discussion, let's visit the Philippine contemporary arts in terms of architecture. When you go around in the Philippines, you will see a mixture of the old and the new architecture. Kung makikita natin yung makaluma and makabagong arkitektura dito sa Pilipinas. So each structures tell a story of how the art of the building was used to shape the course of history and society. So likewise, architecture in the country continues to be vibrant. When we say vibrant, buhay na buhay. With the improvement of tourism, more first-class architecture is expected to pour in. Because alam naman natin na ang Pilipinas ay puntahan ng mga turista dahil sa magaganda nating lugar around the Philippines. So, ang mga architect natin ay gumagawa pa ng mga pang first class na architecture para mas maengganyo silang magstay at pumunta dito sa Pilipinas. In Philippine architecture, we have Paulo Alcazaren. Paulo Alcazaren is an architect and a critic, and Paulo Alcazaren notes that today's Philippine architecture is faced with threats from globalization. You know why? Because he remarks, much of what we see in terms of iconic buildings in the Philippines nowadays, because it is either designed by foreigners or are derivative design mimicking copies of Western forms. Kumbaga, ang sinasabi dito ni Paulo Alcazaren, nawawala na yung pagkakakilanlan ng sariling atin sa paggawa ng arkitektura dito sa Pilipinas dahil mostly sa mga pinapagawang building dito sa Pilipinas ay design ng mga foreigners or inspired design sa mga ginagawang building or infrastruktura. Now, at this point of our discussion, let's visit Philippine contemporary arts in terms of literature. In Philippine literature, we have the eminent scholar and writer Roland Tolentino. When we say eminent, he is a famous and respectable in terms of his profession. So, Roland Tolentino describes that the Filipino writing in today's world contains the diasporic experience. So, when we say diasporic experience, it is relating to any group. So, that group is incorporation of both the rural and the urban experience. So, that is according to Roland Tolentino. Writers have also explored the Western genre and have produced legitimate texts on prose poetry, flash fiction, magic realism, and science fiction. Filipino writers are also getting recognition abroad. And in the following slide, we will know more of the contemporary Filipino writers. The first one, we have Dean Francine Alfar. He is an award-winning writer. Dean Francine Alfar, an award-winning writer, pioneered the speculative fiction movement and has been publishing the Philippine Speculative Fiction series. So that is Dean Francine Alfar. We have also international award-winning Filipino writers like Miguel Sijoko and Mariby Sulubin. Miguel Sujoko bagged the Man Asian Literary Prize for his novel Ilustrado in 2008, while Mariby Sullivan published her novel The Mango Bride in 2013 under Penguin Books. So kitang-kita na hindi lang pang local ang galing nating mga Pilipino kundi pang international. And lastly, we have the international award-winning Filipino writers like Sophia Lee. Sophia Lee won the 2014 Scholastic Asian Book Award for her novel, What Things Mean. Contemporary Filipino writers are continuing to struggle with the readership among the public and the domination of foreign titles in the market. Despite the odds, contemporary Filipino writers continue to write without fail. Let's move on to the contemporary Philippine theater. Contemporary Philippine theater is still alive despite the dominance of television, movies, and the internet. There are multiple stage production from university-based theater groups to major theater companies. We have the Tanghalang Pilipino and the Philippine Educational Theater Association or PETA annually stage memorable production. The Philippine Educational Theater Association or PETA was founded in 1967 by Cecil Guidotti Alvarez. Advocates the use of Filipino theater in inspiring change and development in society. PETA is composed of dedicated artists, teachers, cultural workers who strives for artistic excellence. PETA volunteers work to promote the transformative power of theater through its production of performance and workshops. And also, as seen in the picture, it was the new normal PETA Theater and its official logo to date. In Philippine theater, we do have also Tanghalang Pilipino. Tanghalang Pilipino established last 1987. So Tanghalang Pilipino is the resident drama company of Cultural Center of the Philippines or also known as CCP. Tanghalang Pilipino continues to push Philippine teatro, artistic and professional excellence through the development and education of actors, writers, directors, and technical staff. The photo contained one of the successful theater play of Tanghalang Pilipino, that is One Tamad, as they joined the 12th World Theater Congress in Moscow. Aside from PETA and Tanghalang Pilipino, there are still more theater companies in the Philippines. This includes the Gantimpala Theater Foundation, the Balay Philippines and private companies such as Nine Works Theatrical, Atlantis Production, Repertory Philippines, and the Concertos Manila. University have their own theater companies such as Dula ang UP or UP Diliman, Ateneo Blue Repertory, or ADMU and Teatro Tomasino ng UST. In this slide, let's talk about Virgin Love Fest. Virgin Love Fest is created in 2004. Virgin Love Fest is a playwright festival of untried, untested, and unpublished plays. So this project is a collaboration of the National Center for Culture and Arts, NCCA, and CCP, Tanghalang Filipino, and the Manila-based playwrights groups, and the Writers Block. Many of these plays staged in Virgin Lab Fest become repeat production and some even become award winners. In Philippine contemporary arts, we have the visual arts. So the new breed of contemporary Filipino visual artists is becoming bold regarding the expression of personal feelings and perspective. In visual arts, the institutionalization of museums and galleries have also revitalized the Philippines art scene. In annual art competition, also play an important role in encouraging emerging artists to create and produce their works. Because of this, the influence of radical and modern art movements in Europe and the Americas have penetrated the Philippines art scene with the proliferation of installation and experimental art or artwork. Let's move on to the arts promotion and preservation. Art is a national heritage that is essential in building the nation and ensuring democracy. So art is divided into different art forms. We have paintings, sculptures, songs, dances, poetry, and other art forms remind people of the origins, history, struggles, and triumph of the nation. And as part of the democratic trust of the Corazon Aquino administration, Executive Order Number 118 created the Presidential Commission on Culture and the Arts. So we have 5 years later, Republic Act 7356 established the National Commission for Culture and the Arts or the NCCA. In this slide, let's discuss the goal of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts or NCCA. The NCCA is the country's overall policy-making body, coordinating and grants-giving agencies for preservation, development, and promotion of Philippine arts and culture. We have also the creation of the NCCA serves as the state's initiative to promote and develop art and culture awareness in the country. And lastly, the NCCA through its committees and subcommittees ensures that the interests of various regions are represented. Seen in the picture is Miss Universe 2018, Catriona Gray, named as the NCCA Ambassador for Art. On the following slides, we will know the 6 agencies under the NCCA. For the first one, we have the CCP. CCP is Cultural Center of the Philippines. It is responsible for bringing together the different art from various regions to the entire country and the whole world. For almost 50 years, CCP has been serving as the premier venue in the Philippines for culture and arts. CCP is home to 9 artistic resident companies. Under the 9 artistic resident companies, we have the National Music Competition for Young Artists Foundation or NAMCYA. We have the Ballet Philippines, Philippine Madrigal Singers, Philippine Ballet Theater, UST Symphony Orchestra. We have also Tanghalang Pilipino, Bayanihan Philippine National Folk Dance Company, Philippine Harmonic Orchestra, and lastly, we have the Ramon Ubusan Folkloric Group. So that is the 9 artistic resident companies inside CCP. Aside from NCCA, we have also the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. So it was created with the vision of a Filipino society with citizens informed of their history, who love their country and are proud of their cultural heritage. So it carries out its mandate by promoting Philippine history and cultural heritage through research, disseminations and conservations, sites management, and heraldry works. So through the efforts of the NHCP, Filipinos may have awareness appreciation of the noble deeds and ideals of our heroes and other illustrious Filipinos, to instill pride in the Filipino race and to rekindle the Filipino spirit through the lesson of history, and to have nation whose people value the past looking into the future. So that is National Historical Commission of the Philippines. We have also the Pambansang Museo ng Pilipinas or the National Museum of the Philippines. The main task of this institution is to solicit, document, preserve, exhibit, and promote the natural and artificial wonders of the Philippines. Pambansang Museo ng Pilipinas is located in the heart of Manila. The National Museum of the Philippines is the country's repository of archaeological artifacts, national treasures, and rare specimens found and produced in the country. The National Museum has two divisions, the Natural History Museum and the National Art Gallery. As you can see in the picture, that is the Spolarium. So the National Museum is also responsible for putting up a network of museums around the country to serve as a local destination of the diverse natural and cultural heritage of the country. Like this artwork, Spolarium, and also Spolarium is the largest painting in the Philippines and the most valuable artwork housed in National Museum. We have also Pambansang Aklatan ng Pilipinas. So it is established in 1901. It has the mandate of serving as a respiratory of the printed and recorded cultural heritage of the country and other intellectual, literary, and information sources, and providing access to these resources to our people's intellectual growth, citizenship, building, lifelong learning, and enlightenment. And also, it was then called the American Circulating Library to serve as memorial to American servicemen who died in Philippine soil. The Pambansang Aklatan ng Pilipinas is home to rare books and documents such as Acta de la Proclamación de la Independencia del Pueblo Filipino and the manuscript of the Trials of Andres Bonifacio. In this slide, we have the National Archives of the Philippines in guardian to over 400 documents from Spanish era dating 1552 to 1900s and various records from the American period to the public. In addition, the history of the National Archive goes back to the Treaty of Paris in 1898, which is stipulated the relinquishment or cession of documents from Spanish to American authorities and provided for the preservation of the documents. To be seen at the National Archives of the Philippines is a map and a plan dating 1883 for the Archbishop's Palace of Nueva Segovia as approved by the Governor General of the Philippines. And lastly, we have the Komisyon sa Wikang Pilipino. So the KWF was created by a Republic Act number 7104. Congress shall establish a national language commission composed of representatives of various regions and disciplines which shall undertake, coordinate, and promote researches for the development, propagation, and preservation of Filipino and other Philippine languages. So the KWF has annually given the Talaang Ginto or Makata ng Taon for Filipino Poetry, Aklat ng Bayan, and other grants of programs on foundings, award, and projects. That is the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for listening and enjoy your day. God bless you all.